Hello and welcome to Martyn Lucas Investor. My name is Sensei and you are here for the morning forecast show. Today we're starting off the week with over $500 million worth of liquidations in the crypto market. We've got a lot of news this week coming out from Fed Jerome Powell, where we're going to get a big insight into rate cuts, if they're going to come, how likely they are going to come, how quick, fast, are we going to get 50 basis points, 25 basis points, are we going to get any, what's Jerome Powell's plan about unemployment going up and inflation staying sticky, is PPI inflation going to move into CPI? Well, we've got a few speeches this week. We've got the FOMC meeting, the FOMC minutes coming out, Jackson Hole speech coming this week, we can sort of understand where the market's going by the sell-off today. So we'll get straight into all of the news. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Let me get straight into it. We'll start with Bitcoin because Bitcoin obviously is the king of the market, and you can see it's been selling off ever since we identified that double top at all-time highs. So here we're looking at the Bitcoin chart. We're going to get into all of the news in a second. If you are live with us for the morning forecast show, please make sure you have hit the like button. Please make sure you are subscribing. We are coming up to 100,000 subscribers. What does that mean? Well, lots of gifts and prizes for anyone who interacts with the channel, engages with the channel, is live with us all the time, reposts us on X, follows the newsletter, all those sorts of things. You're going to get prizes. And the big main prize, well, that's free to enter, free for all. That is going to be a random draw. And the more tickets you have, the more chance you are going to win, and that'll be live on the show. So it's unlike any other giveaway you see on X, on YouTube. We're drawing it live on YouTube. $1,000 worth of XRP given away very shortly. So I'll give you the link to that shortly as well. It's always in the description, so if you want to skip and go and check it out, it's there in the description. But what we're looking at here is the chart for Bitcoin. We did cover the all-time high. We covered it live on the show. We got the magnet out. Some of you know what I mean by that. Some of you don't. And we got all-time highs live. We covered it live. But then the concern after we got that was, wait a second, it's not actually going to our targets. It looks like it's double topping at the previous all-time high, which is 123,400. We only went slightly above it to 125,000. But essentially, where the daily candle closed, it looks like a double top. And that's what we identified, and unfortunately that's what's been playing out. We have double topped at that range, and now we are selling off, coming back into support of 116,000. If that doesn't hold, we can come back down to 111,000, and worst case scenario, this is the double top that ends the bull market. So that's worst case scenario. This double top can end the bull market and enter us into the bear market. 6 months down the line, we can look back on this and say, wow, that double top was what ended the bull market. Do I think that's the case? No, but this week we'll get a better idea if that will or won't be the case. I am still optimistic. We are entering the final stage of the bull market. I am still fully invested, but that doesn't mean you should be. This is my money. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your money. Remember, nothing is financial advice. This is my thoughts and opinions only, so please do not buy or sell based on anything I say ever. That it will be a very unwise decision. I'm not a financial advisor. You should consult your own. So that's what we're looking at here, Bitcoin double topping. And then we've also got quite a lot of liquidations happening. So let me just quickly bring up the liquidations as well. For some reason it's not there. We've got over 500 million worth of liquidations happening. Hello to David. Hello to Yestin. Good morning, everyone, says Chris. Jano Crypto's here. Good morning. Good luck today, everyone. Thank you very much for all those comments. Now I'll show you the liquidations. I am actually going to go back into subscriber mode as well, so that anyone can comment who's also a subscriber, and then we'll come back into members only mode. So last 24 hours, Ethereum is the one that's been hit big. We have had record inflows into Ethereum ETFs last week. Billions and billions inflows into, or maybe not billions, but record inflows into Ethereum ETF last week. Record long open interest in Ethereum, and now it's catching up with it because we've got record levels of liquidations on Ethereum as well. $205 million worth of Ethereum positions have been liquidated, money gone. 180 million of that was longs, 25 million was short. So you can see the people that were going long on Ethereum are the ones that are being hurt the most today. The next up, we've got Bitcoin with about $123 million worth of longs being liquidated, only $2 million worth of short. So the long positions are the ones that are being targeted right now with these sell-offs. Then you've got others. Then actually third place is really Solana, then XRP. So XRP is not being hit the most by these liquidations. Normally we do see a lot of XRP liquidations, but that has already been flushed out since the all-time high, and that dropped down to $3 that we got straight after that. Most of the longs got flushed out of XRP, which is good news because it means that there's a lot of shorts building up on XRP. So I am quite bullish on XRP once it starts moving back to the upside. But what you can see here is record liquidations once again. You can see even over the last 4 hours, you're seeing large amounts of liquidations on Ethereum and Bitcoin, not so much XRP, but that is still up there. But Ethereum mainly, next up Bitcoin, are seeing the liquidations. If we go through some of the charts, and then we'll come on to the news about why this is happening, and specifically Jerome Powell is and the expectation of him coming out and speaking this week, which he will be doing. That's in the calendar, and how we need to be prepared for that, because that's the main event this week, is Jerome Powell's speeches, the FOMC minutes, all that sort of stuff. Is what's going to move the markets this week. If you have a quick look at the US markets at this time, they're not looking as bad. The S&P 500 is just basically flat on the day. Gold is slightly higher on the day. Just a side note, gold is looking pretty good. It's like accumulated very well at these all-time highs. It hasn't sold off that much. And we are expecting gold to break out to all-time highs at some point as well. But yes, the S&P 500 is holding up pretty well. Does that mean it won't start selling off? Well, PE ratio on the S&P 500 is pretty overextended. Everything is eyes on Jerome Powell this week. We had a terrible PPI last week. We want to see what Jerome Powell says about that. Then we're going to have more CPI and PPI data coming up next month. Then we're going to have the September FOMC meeting, and you need to work back. So the FOMC meeting in September is where they're going to decide, is there going to be a rate cut, rate hike? Are rates going to stay the same? How much are they going to cut by? But by the time we get to that FOMC report, we're going to have a very good idea on exactly what they're going to do. And the reason we're going to have a very good idea on exactly what they're going to do is because you work backwards. Before that, you've got CPI and PPI. Before that, you've got the FOMC meetings and Jerome Powell's speech this week. Before that, you had PPI and CPI from last month. So we are building the blocks so we know exactly what's going to happen on the FOMC day, so we can prepare to take advantage of it. And each of these events that we're going to be covering on the build up to the FOMC will help us make some more informed decisions and not just react to the FOMC, because most of the reaction will happen before the FOMC. And it started with PPI last week. We traded that live, 50x short. I did that live on the show, made some good money. I didn't want to short, but when I saw those surprise PPI data, we had time to trade that. And I showed you live on the show. Go back and watch the PPI stream from last week. We were hoping to go long, but the data was so bad, I couldn't not go short. So we'll probably be live trading the Jerome Powell speech as well. We'll see if I'll call into Martyn and do a show together or have the build up to it in the morning. We'll see. But that's all coming up later this week. So S&P 500 is pretty flat. Nothing too bad going on there. It's more the crypto markets which are down. If you look at the right of my screen here, you can start seeing ADA down 6%, Uniswap down 6%, Ondo Finance down 5%. Everything is down between sort of 3 and 5% on the altcoin range. Bitcoin's down about 2%. And even if Ethereum is down pretty badly today, Ethereum's having an awful day today, down another 4.5%. That's why I said don't chase that rally. You don't FOMO into these pumps. You buy remember when we were actually buying Ethereum before everyone else was, and before all the news outlets started talking about Ethereum over the last couple of weeks. I showed you the evidence last week. We had all these tabs, and it showed you that Forbes is predicting a $10,000 Ethereum. It showed you that the inflows on the Ethereum ETFs were at all-time highs. It showed you that everyone on X started talking about Ethereum. It showed you that Coinbase was starting to promote Ethereum. The talk of the town was Ethereum the last couple of weeks, and that led to it breaking 4,000. And I am still long-term bullish on Ethereum, 8 to 12,000. But the time when no one was talking about Ethereum, that's the time I like to buy, and that was not too long ago. A couple months ago, in fact, April. A few months ago when Ethereum was at $1,400. So I'm not as excited to be buying Ethereum up here. But at the end of the day, each to their own. You can buy when you like on different... everyone has their different reasons for buying, but I wouldn't be buying it up here. Potentially, I would be trading with leverage around these areas. If it comes back down to $4,000, that's when I'll start seeing some an opportunity there. Why would I say $4,000 is key for Ethereum? Well, it's key for the technical analysis. The technical analysis suggests that 4,000 was the level we needed to break. We tried it 3 times and we're quite confident it'll break this time. So what in fact is actually going on, I still consider quite bullish for Ethereum. What is that? Well, it's the fact that Ethereum is going to come and backtest $4,000. And if you remember, Martyn started buying Ethereum close to $3,500 around these levels. So I don't expect us to go back down to those levels. I expect us to hold $4,000 and then continue with the uptrend. So I think my Ethereum purchases are safe. I think Martyn's Ethereum purchases are safe. If you started FOMOing at $4,800, $4,700, like once the news hit the mainstream and everyone was FOMOing at 4,800, then that's when I think you're more in trouble. But if you bought on the breakout of 4,000 or even lower, then I think we're fine. Remember, that's not financial advice, that's my thoughts. So when we come back in for the retest of $4,000 or $4,100, I might look to enter a position for a short-term trade to buy some more at 4,000. But apart from that, I'm not too interested in buying Ethereum at 4,800, 4,500. I'll be looking more around 4,100, 4,000, which we are pretty close to now. In all honesty, there's not too much more. Only another 3 or 4% left for Ethereum to hit those targets, and then I'll get excited again. So that's Ethereum. Moving on to XRP, which we spent a lot of time talking about on my Sunday show last night. Thank you for everyone who tuned into the Sunday show last night. I'll come on to the Jerome Powell news as well and exactly what's happening this week so we can get prepared. I just came into the scene and bought the pump now, down bad. Any advice from here? Derek, we will come on to all your questions in a second. I'll give you my full analysis first. So with XRP, the outlook is literally exactly what I've been saying. I mean, I said the month of August, I said August is probably going to be Ethereum season. And I said that in the month of July as well, towards the end, Ethereum season is what we're looking at right now. Ethereum breaking out. XRP has had its time, and now it's time for Ethereum to catch up. We were hoping that Bitcoin starts making new all-time highs. It did, but it's sold off since. But anyway, the outlook for XRP was very simple. We won't go too far back, but July, remember the big breakout, the double top at $3.50. And then we said the month of August for XRP, in my opinion, was going to be an accumulation sideways moving month between the prices of, on the very low end, $2.62, and on the high end, $3.40. And I said, even before the SEC case was announced to be closed, even before that, I said in the month of August, we're going to get a resolution of the SEC Ripple case. And I said, even with that news, I doubt that we will break to all-time highs. I explained all my reasons in that video. The main reason being, you look at the last big event we had for the biggest event in XRP's history, which was when actually Judge Torres announced that XRP within itself is not a security. That moved the price up 100%, and then a couple months later you're back down lower than that price. So this news wasn't as big, and XRP was already overextended. So I said, if that news comes out, it will probably pump on the day. and maybe the day after, but eventually that news will sell off, and we'll start accumulating in the month of August. So far we're right. We went down as close to the bottom target, $2.70. The lowest target I have for the month of August is $2.64, $2.62. And then we went to the highest target as well. We got very close to $3.40, $3.39. So both of those levels have been hit. I expect the rest of August and going into the beginning of September to be the same for XRP. Sideways moving action. September we're going to get, in my opinion again, I might change my outlook based on what Jerome Powell says this week, based on what the FOMC meeting could be, but my opinion hasn't changed yet. August, sideways moving action, even with the SEC case coming to an end. I expected that, and even then I said we won't break out to the upside. So August, sideways moving. Beginning of September, probably still sideways moving. Middle of September, everyone's going to start buying the rumor of the XRP ETF, because in our analysis and what we're looking at is there to be a, let me show you this, all of these XRP ETFs to get approved. And what are the dates? Well, the dates are between the 18th and the 25th of October. So that's towards the middle to the end of October. Normally you get the buy the rumor a month and a half before. I would say about a month before in this case. So by the middle of September, you'll start buying the rumor. I think we could possibly get all-time highs for XRP in September. That'll go into October. Potentially all-time highs for XRP in October. ETF news gets announced. You might have a sell the news event where you drop, I don't know, a liquidation wick because everyone's going to be so excited. They'll be opening longs. Maybe you'll have another liquidation candle. You come down 10, 20% on the news of the ETF. But then that will get bought up very quickly. So I won't be trading that really. I'll just be holding it. I think that will be bought up with all the inflows that come into XRP. And then we'll get new all-time highs in October. The other news actually is, and I'll see if I can bring it on the screen. If I go on to X here, let me go to your comments for a second and I'll go on to X. There is other ETFs coming out at the same time, and that's why I think in October, let me sort out my camera, in October will be the start of altcoin season. Especially with the fact that probably September we'll have rate cuts. October we might have rate cuts depending on how bad the unemployment data is. I think going into October, altcoin season will be in full effect. November, December, by the time we hit 2026, it will probably be over. So let me show you this, because it's not only XRP, it's altcoins. So if you have a look at this is from Bloomberg Terminal, where you can have a look at the other predictions and odds for approval. So Litecoin, we're looking at a Litecoin ETF to be approved this year. Bloomberg analysts are giving this a 95% chance of happening. And the deadline for that is, I don't like it when we look at American dates. It always gets me confused. October, November, yeah. So the deadline for that is the beginning of October. So we might even have a Litecoin ETF before we get an XRP ETF. If we do get the Litecoin ETF, and this will be our first indicator that these ETFs are all going to get approved, the 2nd of October, is there going to be a Litecoin ETF? Well, approval odds of a Litecoin ETF in 2025 are 95%, so I would say the approval odds of the first deadline are pretty much the same, 94, 93%. So that would be a great indicator. If Litecoin ETF doesn't get approved on the 2nd of October, then that's when I'll start panicking about the XRP ETF being approved, because there's no reason that Litecoin ETF shouldn't be approved, especially with the new SEC. I think it will get approved. We won't think about that risk until it comes to it. We're closer to that date, but I think the Litecoin ETF will be approved. Then we've got the Solana ETF. The final SEC deadline on that is the 10th of October, and we've got many people that have filed: Grayscale, VanEck, 21 Shares, Canary, Bitwise, Franklin, Fidelity, CoinShares, Invesco. So that will be the 10th of October. Then we come on to the big one, the XRP ETF. And that's the one that we've just mentioned, and that's the one we're focusing on, but it's good to look at the others. You've got the deadline starting from on my chart on the 18th of October, from Bloomberg. What's Bloomberg saying? I imagine it's the same one a day within. Yeah, 17th of October. So that's when we get the XRP ETF probably get approved. And then you don't end there. On the same have the ADA ETF. This is an interesting one. No, and then a month later you can get the Polkadot ETF. In November, you're looking at HBAR ETF. You're looking at an Avalanche ETF at the end of December, but I won't really be looking at the Avalanche ETF in December because at that point the hype would already be there, and we'll see what happens. Let me make sure we are still streaming okay. Yeah, we are still okay. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Please do make sure you are hitting the like button, you are subscribing. Anyone who's subscribed before 100,000, you're going to be entered into little draws as well. As long as you're engaging on all the channels and stuff, we'll be giving away different prizes. And then also we've got our $1,000 giveaway. Let me just give you the link to that while you're here. This is the $1,000 XRP giveaway. I'm going to come back onto those ETF news because I think it's the news that no one's covering and they'll be covering it too late. So in the description and in the live chat right now, you've got the link to the $1,000 XRP giveaway. Stay with me. I'm going to give you a chance to win $1,000, but it'll only take me 5 minutes or 1 minute to explain it. So we're going to be doing it live on the show. We are so close to 100,000 subscribers. We're going to get it before the draw, so make sure you are subscribing. And this is a giveaway. It's free to enter, free for all. You can win with just one ticket. If you want to increase your odds, you acquire more tickets. And by acquiring the tickets, you're not paying for them. You're getting them for free. So you go to that website, you sign in with your email, and then once you've signed in, you've got different ways of entering. You can find magic numbers in the stream. You can repost Martyn on X. These sometimes change, so come back and check back. You can subscribe to my newsletter, the free version, get 150 tickets. You can post on X for another 100 tickets. You can follow Martyn on X. You can follow Vaz on X for another 100 tickets. Remember, even if you already subscribe to my newsletter or if you already follow Martyn on X, you don't have to undo it and do it again. You just click here, you claim your tickets. And the more tickets you have, the higher chance you have of winning it. There's only about 500 people that have entered, so your chance is pretty good, I would say, especially for this amount of money. So go and check it out if you want to win $1,000 worth of XRP. The draw will be happening in September. So the link is there. Go and check that out. So back to what we were talking about here with all of these other ETFs. This is going to get exciting. This is, in my opinion, is what's going to cause altcoin season. This is what people are going to look to and say, okay, now it's time for the altcoins. All of these ETFs, the chance of being approved, the main four, or the main three, Litecoin, Solana, XRP, you're looking at 95%, and then the other ones, Dogecoin, Cardano, Polkadot, HBAR, Avalanche, you're looking at 90%. So I'd imagine all of these ones get approved this year, and we've got the dates. So that is what I think is going to cause altcoin season, and that's the time we're going to get excited for. I think the month of August is going to be sideways moving, but it doesn't really matter because in 2 months' time, I think we're going to get the peak of the altcoin, or we're going to be in altcoin season, what we've been waiting for 4 or 5 years. So I wouldn't worry too much about August. It'll be probably sideways moving, just like we said. September, we might even have a liquidation scare. We might even have some terrible news come out from Jerome Powell this week. We might have some awful CPI data come out, and we might even have a bigger drop. But hopefully, there's enough hype, there's enough money in the system, they might have emergency rate cuts, which at first glance would be terrible, the market won't react well, but then on second glance, everyone will get excited because it means a lot more liquidity is flowing into the market. So even if we have a black swan event, hopefully it just gets bought up quite quickly, and then we can go into the full-blown altcoin season, which is what we are hoping for. But there is always risks. I mean, yesterday we covered some of those risks, there is some risks, the macro risk. While the ETF calendar is dominant crypto catalyst, the macro backdrop cannot be ignored. July's PPI shocked the markets with its steepest increase in more than 3 years. If that strength follows through into next month's CPI, it could derail expectations for Federal Reserve rate cuts. Without easing, liquidity conditions remain tighter than risk assets, including crypto, prefer. On top of this, if US unemployment data starts to tick higher, then the Fed may find itself boxed in, unable to cut bonds and crypto. So there are risks. Some of these risks, we won't know how it will play out. Sometimes they're just big wicks towards downside and they get bought up quickly. Sometimes these risks create a bear market. Be prepared for the risk, be prepared for the downside, be prepared for the upside, be prepared for the sideways action. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with Japan, interest rates are always very low there. I mean, since 2008, they've literally been at 0% basically, sometimes even negative. So people go to Japan, borrow money, and then invest it in bonds or stocks or whatever, because it's so cheap to borrow there. However, recently they have been increasing, they have been moving their interest rates higher. We saw what happened about a year ago where they increased their interest rates, and then we saw liquidation markets in over a day, and then it got bought back up. That could happen again. We do have about a 45%, the report boosts odds of October rate hike now expected by 42%. So we could see rate hikes in October. There is a 42% chance that, based on an economist, that will basically move the interest rate higher in Japan, and then the borrowing won't be as I don't think people would see the point of borrowing Japanese yen at that point, and then you'll see the unwind happen, which can cause significant corrections. Remember, right now, even with interest rates at 0.5%, that's the highest since 2008 for Japan. So you can see it has a big macro effect as well. But let's move on to what's happening this week with Jerome Powell. If you are live with us, please make sure you are hitting the like button and you are hitting the subscribe button. There it is. Let me just find this. Okay. So the one big thing in the newsletter today, remember this is going back to our newsletter that comes out every single day. So the one big thing today is Jerome Powell's speech at Jackson Hole on August the 22nd could reset market expectations. Excuse me. With traders now pricing in a 25 basis point rate cut for September amidst sticky inflation and softening labour markets. Right now, when you are looking at the odds of what's going to happen in the September FOMC meeting, which is now just a month away, 30 days away, it's been changing quite a lot recently. Before the PPI data, we had a 100% chance of rate cuts in September. In fact, not only did we have a 100% chance of rate cut in September, we actually had a chance of a 50 basis point rate cut, which would sort of, some people would say, would equate to two rate cuts, but in fact it's just a rate cut but more basis points. Anyway, there was a 100% chance of rate cut, a smaller chance that there would be a 50 basis point rate cut, but since that PPI report came out, we've been slowly moving the other way. No chance of a 50 basis point rate cut, and actually now a 15% chance that rates won't even be cut. Good news is they still look like they're going to be cut, but this will change again this week when Jerome Powell starts talking and gives us some more insights on what he thinks about that data. So back to the newsletter. I'll move down to, remember we saw the Trump-Putin, we covered that live on the show. We did, I mean, Martyn did a whole, I don't know, well, how long was it, 12 hours, 8 hours of a show for Trump-Putin summit. But unfortunately, that did yield with no ceasefire. As US focus shifts to territorial and security deal, we will have more updates about this today because Zelensky's going to the US and some other European leaders. So we'll give you more of an update. But please go and check out that story because there is some updates there. But here's the story we're talking about. Powell's Jackson Hole address takes center stage. So Federal Reserve Chair, and we're going to be covering this event live on the show. This is going to be, again, probably the most important event of this week. And this could shape whether we're going to go into bear market or bull market. I'll see. Yep, I've got that message sent. Let me just go there. So we're going to be covering this event live. Maybe you'll have me and Martyn, maybe you'll just have Martyn, but I'll be hopefully calling in because I think this event is going to be pretty big. So keep an eye out for this news. So Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell will headline the Jackson Hole Economic Policy Synopsis on Friday, August the 22nd, with a 10 a.m. Eastern Time speech titled Economic Outlook and Framework Review. The address comes amid rising speculation of a potential 25 basis point rate cut in September's FOMC meeting. Remember, the reason that we're looking at this rate cut is because firstly, it was sort of due. We're expecting them to slowly bring down rates because they can sort of see a path to 2%. That path's becoming a bit cloudy now. But the other reason we're seeing a rate cut happen is because we saw bad unemployment data. And once you start seeing the economy not looking so good and unemployment starting to rise, then that's when you start looking at you need to sort of start cutting rates. So that's why there is an expectation of a September rate cut. So also under the what's this about the symposium often considered the Fed's most consequential policy gathering of the year, will focus on inflation dynamics, labor markets. So this is about this event that's happening this week. We'll focus on inflation dynamics, labor market trends, and the central bank's evolving monetary framework. Also under the microscope this week as well is the FOMC minutes from Wednesday, August 20th, which could reveal how policymakers weighed last month's weak jobs data, persistent inflation, and economic impact of recent tariffs. We'll be breaking down those FOMC meetings on the newsletter. We'll be breaking it down live on the show. If you haven't got the newsletter yet, I'll give you the link to the newsletter. Every single day you get all of this information directly to your inbox, or the app, or you can listen to it, or the webpage. You've got a lot of flexibility there. The FOMC meetings, which we'll see on Wednesday, are regarded as the most detailed account of the Fed's deliberations. Will offer insight into internal divisions, dovish or hawkish pivots, and reaction to ongoing price pressures. Powell is also expected to touch on the Fed's long-term framework review, a recurring policy reassessment evaluating how it pursues its dual mandate of stable prices and maximum employment. Remember, that is what the Fed's job is. Market participants will be passing both events for any signal on future policy flexibility, possible preemptive moves, or sustained tightening as inflation uncertainty lingers. And that's going to be us. That's us. We're market participants. And what we're doing, why we're looking at the FOMC meeting minutes and the speech, well, we are looking at possible preemptive moves. We're going to be analysing it, we're going to be looking at what he says, and then that will be giving us quite a good idea on what's happening with the FOMC meeting the month after. That could mean, are we still in a bull market? Are we still in a bear market? What's going on? So we are market participants, and we are looking for any signal that Jerome Powell will give us, and we will react accordingly. Anyway, that's what I will be doing, and that's why we're going to be covering it live on the show. So the Fed's tone this week could either validate or challenge market pricing or rate cuts. Watch how Powell frames inflation risk versus employment softness. His collaboration could define Q4 positioning across bonds, equities, and FX. We've also got gold climbing. We've talked to you about gold as well. I've said that I do expect this to go to all-time highs, but it is edging higher today as well, especially with the geopolitical situation going on right now. This is an interesting story from Michael Saylor as well. Saylor's Bitcoin credit ambition from convertibles to perpetuals. So Michael Saylor is reshaping MicroStrategy's capital structure with an experimental Bitcoin credit model. He likes to experiment, and we never quite understand exactly what he's doing. I'm always just worried it's all going to come crumbling down one day, but I'm sure he's much more clever than me. We'll see. Anyway, this Bitcoin credit model, a branded initiative aimed at turning Bitcoin into institutional grade collateral. Departing from traditional convertible debt, the company has issued roughly $6 billion in 2025 through 4 financing rounds, including novel perpetual preferred stock instruments to fund continued Bitcoin accumulation. It's a Ponzi scheme if I've ever seen one. I'm joking. I don't think it is, but it's just so complicated to understand, because what they're doing, they're buying Bitcoin, then they're issuing stock, then they're buying more Bitcoin, their company becomes more valuable, then they issue more stock, then they issue more debt, then they buy more Bitcoin. I mean, surely there's a point where you can't just keep doing that. I don't know. But we'll see. Anyway, these offerings offer a yield of 8 to 10% and are positioned to attract institutions seeking crypto exposure without direct price volatility. Saylor has floated a theoretical ceiling of $100 billion in Bitcoin-backed credit, and aspirational target if Bitcoin becomes widely accepted as an institutional collateral, not an active credit line. But in all honesty, it's probably a very, very clever thing he's doing here. He's offering basically yields to hedge funds, companies that don't want Bitcoin exposure. It's too volatile for them. Well, he just says, give me money, I'll give you a yield, and I'll go and buy the Bitcoin. You're guaranteed this yield, but thanks for the money, I'm going to go and buy some Bitcoin. I mean, it's quite a strategy, and that's why they renamed their company not MicroStrategy, now it's Strategy. Anyway, it's probably an amazing business idea. Anyway, MicroStrategy current holdings stand at approximately 628,000 Bitcoin. I mean, that's absolutely incredible. Imagine that at $1 million of Bitcoin, which we're probably going to go to. Currently worth around $65 billion, making it the world's largest corporate Bitcoin holder. While these innovative securities could further normalize Bitcoin as collateral in traditional markets, they come with high risks. Analysts, including those from VanEck and PYMNTS, warn of high yield spreads, 500 to 1,200 basis points, and potential cash flow strain if Bitcoin fails to appreciate. These concerns highlight the fragility of using volatile assets to underpin perpetual obligations. Still, as crypto-backed lending gains traction across finance, Saylor's approach could either lead Bitcoin into mainstream credit or serve as a case study into the risks of over-leveraging digital assets. Saylor's playbook is bold. Trade convertibles for perpetuals and position Bitcoin as institutional collateral, but ambition doesn't include execution. This isn't 100 billion raised, this is 100 billion imagined. So hopefully this turns out well for them, and hopefully it doesn't cause the next bear market if there's cascading liquidations for MicroStrategy. We'll see. I do have the deep dive here today. It's about Kita. I think Audio Active Productions requested this, so Audio Active Productions, this is for you, your Kita deep dive. Maybe we'll do a video on it soon, but probably not today. But your Kita deep dive is in the newsletter today, and it is the chart of the day. And this is a crypto that we've been looking at and we got requested. I actually quite like it now. I've done my research into it. But it's quite a small market cap, 500 million. If you've got the newsletter, you can go read into it and make a decision whether you think you're going to like it or not. I do see quite a good upside on it. So that's the newsletter. You saw some of the top stories from today. Go and check out the newsletter. Remember, this comes into your inbox every single day. The one big thing, the market snapshot, what's happening in the market, the 5 things you need to know every single day, stories that are made for you, crypto holders, stock investors, people that want the real news, not the fake news that you see on X. You get these stories every single day, the 5 big things. You get the deep dives, whether that's a crypto review, a stock review, a macro news, breaking down PPI. We do it all. We do it every single day. You also get the chart of the day. You get the economic calendar. So this week we are looking at a few things happening tomorrow, especially with Japan exports. But it gets interesting when we come on to Wednesday. Wednesday, we're looking at the FOMC meeting. We're looking at ECB president for Euro talking, and then Thursday is Jackson Hole day 1, and Friday is Jackson Hole day 2. And we're looking at Jerome Powell's speech on Friday. Anyway, you get this all in the newsletter. The link is in the chat. First link in the description as well. Let me go over to your questions now. There is one more story about Elon Musk here. So Musk renews threats to Tesla short sellers amidst insider sell-off. So we've got Tesla CEO Elon Musk reignited his campaign against short sellers, warning in a recent X post that those betting against Tesla will be obliterated if the company achieves autonomy at scale. Short interest in Tesla currently stands at 2.56% of the float, equivalent to $71 million, 71 or 72 million shares, valued at over $24 billion. While some outlets estimate large institutional positions, naming FUFG Securities, EMEA, Jane Street Group, and Citadel Advisors, these figures are based on third-party analytics and should be considered approximations, not confirmed disclosures. The warning coincided with reports that Tesla's SVP Tom Zhu has reduced his holdings by roughly 82%, from 81,000 shares to under 15,000, based on limited scope media reporting and not yet corroborated but via SEC filings. Insiders have collectively sold estimated around 702 million over the last 2 years, though the figure is journalistic and not drawn from audited filings. So we are getting reports now that there's a lot of insiders within Tesla that are selling their own stock. That obviously doesn't bring too much confidence to regular shareholders, and it brings the shorters into the market. Tesla shares closed at 330, down 1.5% for the day. That was on Friday, trailing the S&P 500 in 2025, with 18.15 year-to-date loss versus the index's 9.6% gain. However, the stock is still up 54% over the past year, outperforming the S&P 500 16%. Tesla currently operates limited robotaxi services with safety drivers in California and Texas, though full autonomy has not been achieved. And remains under regulatory scrutiny. Tesla's short interest remains dollar heavy despite its modest float percentage, while Musk's aggressive rhetoric and Zoo's reported disinvestment heighten investor sensitivity to the company's autonomy narrative. Institutional short exposure claims warrant caution without confirmed filings. So we don't have the filings yet. It does look like a lot of insiders are selling. The shorters are getting involved, even though it's a very small percentage, 2.5%. It does account for a lot of dollar value, so it can still have an effect on the price. But if you look at the performance, even though Tesla's had quite a bad year, quite a few bad news stories, their car sales are not doing as well. It's not really about the car sales anymore. It's about the tech business. It's about their taxi fleet. It's about their robots. It's about their AI. It's all about all of those sorts of things. It's a tech company, not a car company. So I think they'll continue to do well, even with their bad performance this year with their car sales. Let me go over to your questions. Let's go back to the crypto charts as well. What's going on? Are we still selling off? I imagine we'll sort of bounce back at some point soon. If we're going to go lower, we'll still expect a bounce. Bouncing a little bit over the last 4 hours for XRP. Bitcoin is still not really bouncing back. This could get ugly fast as well. Always be prepared for the downside. This can go down to 100,000 pretty fast as well, if we're looking at a cascading liquidation situation, which we haven't got when was the last time we got a massive correction for Bitcoin? And I'm talking 25% plus. You get them in a bull market. When was the last time we got one? Maybe this one here in March. Yeah, March was the last one. I wouldn't be surprised if you just be prepared for it. I'm not going to call a big drop, but always be prepared for it. We've got the link for the next show. So I'll answer a couple questions, I'll end the poll, and then we'll go straight over to Martyn. So that's there. Let me click on this. What time is this one starting? We've got a premiere from, oh yes, these are Vaz premieres. Good. These you'll love these. Vaz has done a few videos on the EVTOL sector. The EVTOL sector is the next big sector. Remember how we identify sectors, whether it was Tesla, whether it was Nvidia, whether it was SoundHound, whether it was the crypto, whether it was XRP. The next one is EVTOLs.
At the Big Red K9 donated $2 through a super chat. Still bullish on BLSH? Expect it to go even lower?
The Big Red, I love it. Still bullish on Bullish? I'm bullish on Bullish long term. Oh, well, I would say for this bull cycle, for like the next year, and then maybe it will come lower. I am still bullish on Bullish, but I wouldn't be buying Bullish at these levels. From the IPO levels, $37, brilliant. From the levels we're at now, am I incredibly bullish? Probably not. I am looking at potentially $50, $60. That's why I'll be buying it. It's very hard to tell. It's extremely hard to tell where an IPO is going to go. What we were saying yesterday on the show was if we break about $65, we are looking at some significant downside. If we hold $67, then you can sort of start looking at these higher prices closer to $100. But IPOs are very hard to predict. I mean, what happened to Figma after the first day? Yeah, Figma, it could be something more similar to Figma where the first day it pumped hard, and then it just down from those heights about 46% and just accumulate. So something like this could happen rather than what happened with Circle when it continued to go up. It's probably more similar to Figma at this point, where it's had its pump and it's just going to go down and then find a level and go sideways. So I am still bullish on it. If I still think in 30 days time after when you can sort of sell your IPO, it'll be fine. We have heard reports of some people that live on the show, they said if you bought it, you could also sell it and you won't be penalized. So do what you want. At the end of the day, if you got in at the pre-IPO prices, I'm still bullish on those prices. Buying it from those prices, I'll still be bullish. And you can still sell at these levels for quite a nice profit. But it's very hard for me to say if it's going to go up, down or sideways at this point. We don't have enough data on it. Sensei, if you have a moment, what are your thoughts on Songbird and Flare? Yep, love them, especially Flare. They're holding up pretty well actually at the moment as well. So I do think Flare will have a massive pump if we do get the bull market as we expect towards the end of that. When XRP holders take their profits, they'll probably start looking at XRP-ish tokens, and Flare will be one of them. Okay, we're going to go over to, what time does this start again? Let me refresh this. It's starting in 8 minutes. We do have a couple of minutes.
A Torborn Fellows 98 donated $10 through a super chat. Can you give me chart reading on LCX and XPR network THX, both crypto?
We'll have to do it very quickly. We're literally about to end the show. We normally end on the half hour, but thank you very much for your super chat. Let me go through them. And thanks for telling me exactly what they are, because sometimes the ticker can be a stock or it could be a crypto. So I do appreciate you letting me know that they're both cryptos. So LCX, never heard of it. I don't think we've ever done chart analysis on it. It is on Coinbase, interesting. It is on Coinbase. It did come out at the bull market peak. The good news is it doesn't look like some of these charts you see from 2021 where it just goes down, down, down. It capitulated. It found its bottom back in December of 2022, and ever since it's started creating higher highs, higher lows, which is great to see. So that shows a lot of strength. That's probably November of 2024. Yeah, November, December of 2024, and that's that peak in January of 2024. So you are looking at, once we break out and we're looking at an altcoin season, if it does happen, again, this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you whether to buy or sell. I'm just looking at a chart and doing some analysis. I do expect if we do it, if the bull market continues, which I expect it does, I do think this will be sort of a double bottom, and it will probably at least head up to your 40 cents mark. And past that, well, it does look pretty strong. So I would expect, and I don't normally do this for 2021 tokens, but I would expect this to go to $1 this cycle, especially if we get that altcoin season we imagine, where, and what I mean by that is no major bear market, ETFs will get approved, and then we get the altcoin season by the end of the year. So I do see this chart looking actually pretty nice. I've never looked at this token before. It is on Coinbase. People will probably start looking at prices it can go up to. First target will be around 40 cents or just slightly before, because people will take profits there. And then if it goes beyond that, you're looking at $1 or just below $1. The other one was XPR network. This one's not on the major exchanges yet, which is normally a good thing. Oh yeah, we have looked at this. It certainly doesn't look brilliant. When you look at the chart, it's completely different. You're massively down and you've had no real recovery. Lower highs, lower lows. However, I've heard a lot of people say good things about it, if I remember correctly. What is it again? Blockchain for everyone. Yeah. Look, it looks like you're going to have a double top at a 0.008. If that does break, then you're looking at 0.014, and then God knows how high it can go. It depends. The market cap is very low on this, I remember. Yep, 170 million. Much harder to do chart analysis for something like this. If you're holding this, then you just be prepared to lose your money, but be prepared for big volatility as well. Resistance at 0.008. The next one's at 1.5 cents. But beyond that, I mean, I don't expect this to go to all-time highs, but it can go to 3 cents, 4 cents from these levels. Definitely, it can have big volatile days. But the issue with this one is the base is much, much lower. So if you are looking at a correction, it could be about an 80% correction. It's very, very volatile, much more volatile than the other token you just suggested. But thank you for that. Time to move on to the next show that is starting literally in a couple minutes. App needs updating. There's going to be liquidations all the way up until the 17th of September. Thank you very much. Your opinion? Okay, brilliant. Thank you everyone for tuning in. This was the morning forecast show. We're live every single morning. There's a lot happening this week, so do keep an eye on the channel. Jerome Powell. I mean, this is how we're going to find out if we're going to go into bull market or bear market. It's going to how we're going to find out what the rate cuts are going to be. I'm probably going to be trading it live as well. Maybe me and Martyn will cover it live together. We'll see, but it will definitely be covered live on this channel. Anything XRP related, anything crypto related, anything government related, stock related, macro related, earnings related. If you want earnings, you can give a $5 super chat and we'll do any earnings, any stock earnings. So everything is done live on the channel. We want this to be your one-stop shop for anything market related. But thank you everyone for tuning in. It's time to end the show. We're going straight to VAS now. This is going to be an important one. This is starting soon. This is the EVTOL market. We're talking flying taxis here. That's a very easy way of putting it. Vaz is an expert on this. He goes on the ground, he goes to all the air shows, he goes to Paris, he goes to the different air shows, he interviews these people on the ground. This is going to be a big sector. We've already seen massive gains. Remember, crypto is not the only place you can make money. In fact, the stock market's been doing much better than crypto over the last 4 years. So if you don't know much about some emerging technologies, then you might want to check out these videos, because Vaz has been doing deep dives into these companies that actually make money, companies that are on track to make money, and that are revolutionizing the aerospace industry. No one's heard of them right now, but remember, no one heard about crypto 4 years ago, 8 years ago. They all thought it was a scam. Right now, if you say flying taxi, people would laugh at you. Well, they shouldn't actually be laughing at you, because it's sort of confirmed to be the next big thing. If you don't believe me, go and watch these videos from Vaz. The next one is starting in 2 minutes. At least watch the first one all the way through. Once you go over there, say sent me. Here is the link to the channel's newsletter. I write it. There is a link. If you want all the information, it's there. Now we're going over to Vaz. Here is the link. Starting in just 1 minute. There is a link to the next show we're going to. It's pinned above as well. Starting in 1 minute time. 1 minute? What are we now? Yeah. So everyone go in there. I want to see everyone in the chat supporting Vaz as well, and you will learn something new. So thank you everyone for tuning in. I'll see you on tomorrow's morning forecast show. Unless something major happens, I'll be live. Remember, we were live 1 a.m. or 12 p.m. with the Bitcoin all-time high last week, and that's where we identified the double top. I want to see if the music comes to an end before this video starts. Here we go. 60 seconds and the video is going to start. Again, if you want the $1,000 giveaway, here is the link for you. Go and do the different things and you will be entered into a $1,000 giveaway. Free and done live on the show. There is a link. Okay, so now we're going over to Vaz. Yeah, Martyn found a good one when he brought Vaz to the team. Vaz does an incredible reporting on EVTOLs. Yes, he does, and that's where we're going now. Until next time, see you tomorrow. Take care of yourselves and each other. Bye-bye.